In 1971, a 17-year-old rocket enthusiast was given permission to launch his homemade prototype rocket and told to direct it towards that patch of land better known as Area 51. Thinking he was simply being escorted by the military to retrieve it, the young man was instead taken inside a secret hangar and asked his opinion about what he believed to be alien technology. Join us on Aliens Explored as we delve into the life and times of David Adair. This episode is dedicated to our Explorer of the Week, Toby Fomes, who supports this podcast through our Patreon. Check it out at patreon.com/Aliens Explored and see what rewards are on offer at a level that suits you.
Aliens Explored is a weekly podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it?
Welcome back, listeners, to Aliens Explored, your weekly podcast where we look at the people in ufology, we look at historical events in ufology, and we speculate the crap out of all sorts of different things. I am one of your speculative hosts, Stu Jackson.
And I'm your other speculative host, Neil Kelly.
How are you doing, Neil? It's been ages since we last chatted, it seems.
It has been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, I've been busy, mate. I'm on my chin straps most of the time now. Yeah, I'm working at a place where they have very. Oh no, very is the wrong word. They have tremendous problems with staff retention.
Okay,
people leaving in droves. So suddenly, I've gone from being the new boy to being suddenly essential to keeping the thing going at all.
Right.
No,
okay.
I like to think this. We've gone down from 6 Mr. Monopolies on Monopoly Lifestyles on Tottenham Court Road to 2 Mr. Monopolies, keeping it going.
Right. Maybe I ought to look into getting involved myself.
They've got to be looking for another Mr. Monopoly. I mean, the manager just said very vaguely, "Yes, we've got some sort of solution in hand." But that could just as easily be phasing us out and replacing us with a. I mean, we're already kind of doubling up on a cartoon when you go in there. So maybe the cartoon will replace us. Who knows?
Maybe that's the future of acting, as we all get replaced by cartoons.
Yeah, and AI, we get scanned, and then that's it. They've got us. They can make our image do anything.
Yeah, well, we need to...
avatar, I should say.
We need to work on our voice acting techniques.
Yeah.
So, podcasts like this, it's excellent experience for us.
Isn't it? Just
hopefully the listeners won't see it at their expense.
Now, we have had some fan mail, haven't we? We had an email from Jerry. And what did Jerry have to say?
So, Jerry contacted us back on the 10th of August Jerry had just listened to the Cosford UFO episode and wanted to reach out to us. It tells us that he couldn't sleep past 4 a.m, but then he found our podcast.
Excellent. So, it's a service we provide, Jerry.
Absolutely. Insomnia has its benefits, obviously. Jerry went on to say, though, and I quote, "What a load of waffling, ill-informed bollocks."
We've got to get him on the show.
Oh,
He sounds like just the kind of guest we could do with.
He did pick up on. So this was me. I made an incorrect. So I don't know why, because I called it County Wolverhampton. I don't know why. I know Wolverhampton's a town, not a county. Oh, I've no idea why.
And is that the substance of his?
Yes,
his claim that we're talking about old bollocks.
Jerry puts County Wolverhampton in quotation marks and then puts FFS.
Did he find any further fault with our?
No, but
so was that here? That was.
But it did give us, very generously gave us a nice piece of advice. Stick to the day jobs, fellas. Which it's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah, I'm guessing Jerry is from Wolverhampton or the Black Country or somewhere like that.
Guessing so.
Oh, it would be fun to have an angry Brummy on.
I mean, the only other bit of information that Jerry was forthcoming with was that the email was sent from his iPhone.
Right, and he didn't mention whether he was then able to get back to sleep.
That was not forthcoming. But Jerry, we hope you slept well afterwards.
We hope so. Yeah, we hope
venting it has helped you in some way.
If your insomnia is still troubling you, then we hope we are one of its compensations that you can tune in and listen to what we've got to say about. I mean,
I do apologise to everyone in the Midlands for calling it County Wolverhampton. Like I said, I have no idea why. I was completely wrong on that.
Slip of the tongue.
I've got to say, if that was Jerry's takeaway, perhaps he missed the point of the episode. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he was just so triggered that he didn't hear anything else. That was it, And,
it's certainly possible. But for listeners who want to go back and listen to our ill-informed bollocks, it is episode 69 that Jerry is referring to. The Cosford UFO incident of the 31st of March 1993. So there you go.
And forewarned is forearmed if you're from the Black Country.
Yes, indeed.
It was a genuine slip of the tongue.
To our international listeners, just so you're aware, the Black Country is a region of the country and has nothing to do with its peoples.
Nothing to do with race relations. It's always been called
Absolutely
that.
Absolutely not. I don't know why it's called the Black Country, but always has been.
Aren't there also some Black Hills in South Wales, Brecon Beacons? Isn't there original Black Hills around?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
No, don't know. But yeah, it's always been Black Country.
Nothing to do with race relations, so yeah, don't email us in about that. Please. But do email us in. I mean, if you want to tell us what you think, like Jerry did, you can always email us aliensexplored@gmail.com. And other things you might want to talk to us about. We've got a really, really big thing happening 4 days after the public release of this episode. So to our Patreon early access listeners, it's 11 days, but 4 days after this episode goes public. Very exciting news, this. We are launching our Indiegogo campaign, Neil. To make our Crop Circle documentary. So excited about this. So keep an eye out for links in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to us on Twitter, on Facebook, because there will be announcements galore coming through. So you don't want to miss those. Very, very exciting. But this is not the time and place to be launching it. So I won't.
Getting ahead of yourself a bit. It's like our listeners want to know. Well, there's only 4 days from when they can first hear this.
I thought you were going to say there's only 4 listeners then. But yes, no, I'm absolutely certain it will be of interest to all our listeners. Also of interest, I think, to many of our listeners is what we're here to talk about today, which is the interesting case of David Adair, He paid a little visit to Area 51.
He claims.
He certainly does claim.
Claims extensively in books and movies and such like. He's listed on IMDb, that's the Internet Movie Database, as an actor.
Well, you and I both know, Neil, it's not difficult to get listed on IMDb.
No, I mean, you can list yourself or if you've been in anything. So
you don't have to be an actor to be on IMDb.
Yeah. So there was the Cosmic Disclosure TV series that he did himself between 2017 and 2020.
Which I haven't seen.
I haven't seen either.
Hold my hands up to that. I have seen the UFO TV, part of the Disclosure Network, as run by Dr. Stephen Greer. I have seen his special, it's on Amazon Prime here in the UK. I don't know about other countries. But David Adair in Area 51, it's called, which is why we're very careful to call this episode David Adair and Area 51, because we don't want to infringe on anything or create confusion.
So people can easily log in Britain anyway, can log on to Amazon Prime and have a look at what we're talking about,
or who we're talking about. If it's not available in America. I'd be surprised.
You never know, do you? From country to country, they seem to make random allocations and random removals.
That's it. So. And of course, they might take it off at any moment. So get in there quick and have a listen to that.
Well, not take it off, but suddenly decide you've got to pay for it. You've got to pay $4.99 to see it.
That happens as well. Absolutely. So David Adair himself, he's no slouch. He's a space technology transfer consultant.
Yes.
I've been trying to work out what that actually means.
He developed a certain kind of technology, didn't he? The advanced symbiotic technology.
Now, symbiotic technology comes into his story somewhat. But I'm not aware of him developing a technology like that. Interesting.
No, it's on Amazon.com. I don't know if is that. No, I'll just have a check if that's the Amazon Prime thing we've just been talking about. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, he'll talk about symbiotic technology, and we'll come on to that when we tell his story. But no, he is literally a rocket scientist. He worked with for the US, I believe it was the US Navy, helping to design jet propulsion for the aircraft. But yeah, now he's set up his own business as a space technology transfer consultant. I don't know if that means like transferring, say, from the space shuttle to the space station, or what that actually means, or transferring things to space from Earth.
Just for our listeners in the States, this video, UFOs and Area 51, David Adair at Area 51, Advanced Symbiotic Technology. That seems to be the title of it's quite a long title. It's available for rent for $1.99.
Oh, there you go.
Or you can buy it for $7.99, but probably
that's the full
once is enough to get the gist of it.
Your opinion is starting to show already. Yeah. Once is enough. Yeah.
But I'm confused that he's listed as an actor, because he's not just done his Cosmic Disclosure TV series. Have they got him mixed up with someone else? It seems he was in The Bill, which was a police-based soap opera in 1990, and in Minder in 1989. But it's listed in the same filmography, so I guess IMDb's got confused.
This happens a lot with IMDb. At one point, I had 3 different, because each time I was in something, the producer would create a new IMDb profile for me. I don't know why. And now, and my agent had to sort of get them all merged. They'll also miss. Yeah, so that's just that. as an actor, that would be a different David Adair, definitely.
I'm on IMDb as Neil Kelly the Fourth, or Neil Kelly IV.
Really?
Okay, yeah.
I'm just Stu Jackson. There you go. There must be other Neil Kelly actors. We're digressing.
Not in this country, though. Not there must be in America, and there's even more people called Kelly Neil.
Because I'm guessing you're an equity member. I mean, obviously you don't have to tell me, but yeah, you would.
Yes, I am. But say in this country, but you have to protect your name. They were very surprised at my drama school when I applied to Spotlight and was allowed to be Neil Kelly. They said, "Oh, good luck getting that name." But yeah, it was available. My own name was available, but not on IMDb.
There we go.
There's more of us out there, and I don't think any of us are famous.
Anyway, back on to David Adair, not the actor, the space technology transfer consultant. So like I said, I mean, proper rocket scientist, 13 years old, he built his first proper rocket. We're not talking about those things you buy in boxes from Walmart. This was like a proper rocket.
So what's the difference? Or is it just bigger?
I think size plays a part. I think using actual fuel rather than it just being gunpowder plays a part. I'm speculating. I don't actually know is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I assume the rocket fuel cells, they've got more than just gunpowder in, otherwise they would just explode, wouldn't they? Well, I know they do sometimes. Kids have lost eyes and fingers and things.
Look at the fireworks that we call rockets. That's just gunpowder.
Yeah, but made to go whoosh rather than bang. Or it must have something mixed in with it. So if you know what... Well, actually, you could just get a load of those smaller rocket engines and just put them into a bigger can and make a big rocket. So I assume he did something cleverer than that.
I would imagine so, and certainly very, very clever. By the age of 17, this is where we get into the he claims element. He designed what he calls a fusion containment engine. Claims to have gotten funding from his local federal government body to build it.
Who allowed him to have access to nuclear materials to create fusion?
I don't know if it's nuclear materials, but essentially, the way he describes it is you're basically creating a mini sun inside this thing, which then obviously that creates an awful lot of power.
Yeah.
And then, age 17, this is back in 1971. He arranged with his local congressman and an Air Force general, because this rocket with this fusion engine, fusion containment engine, couldn't just be launched from your back garden.
Well, no, I mean you could destroy your entire city if it goes wrong. You could nuclear fusion in your back garden.
So with help from his congressman and an Air Force general, he arranged to launch this from White Sands, which is obviously a missile testing range. So shipped out there, took this rocket, rocket out there. He was given coordinates to land it in a specific place. Which happens to be Groom Lake, otherwise known to many people as Area 51.
Is it indeed? There's actually a lake there.
It's not. It's a dry lake bed.
Right.
So it was a lake, but it's not. It's out in the desert. So, but it is called Groom Lake. Yes. It's a huge area. It used to be a lake bed.
So this rocket that he built had some kind of control. He could actually direct it to land in a particular
absolutely
area, at least within a square mile or so, I guess.
Absolutely.
So what sort of distance are we talking about from White Sands to Groom Lake? Do we know how far
I
that is?
don't know, is the honest answer. Let me go to Google.
Because I would imagine you wouldn't let someone fly an experimental rocket over population centres.
No. No, absolutely not.
I wouldn't have thought anyway. They have a different view of that in North Korea, but especially when the population centres are in South Korea or Japan. But
Yes. So apparently it's about, oh, no, that's 110 miles northeast of Las Vegas. That's where Groom Lake is.
Okay. But he didn't fly across the states, for instance.
No. I mean, it wouldn't have been particularly far.
Okay.
But yeah, it was to test its acceleration and what have you.
But that technology hasn't appeared anywhere, has it? That we know
Not
of.
since. But it's when they go to retrieve the rocket that the story gets quite interesting. It must be a fair distance because they did have to fly there.
Okay.
They didn't drive. They flew.
But maybe hundreds of miles rather than thousands of miles.
Yes. Yeah. Quite. I think that would be reasonable. But yeah, so he gets in this plane. They fly out to Groom Lake. He sees this big complex, this almost industrial sort of complex.
Presumably he's accompanied by people who have authority to be there.
Oh yes.
So
there are,
don't look that way, Dave. Just keep your eyes fixed on
lots of Department of Defense officials and things like that. He thinks obviously they're going to go to the rocket, but they don't. They take him into a large empty hangar. This hangar then, the entirety of it starts descending, and he estimated it went down about 20 stories.
Cripes.
And they show him into this basically top secret bunker area with lots of workshops and things going on. And one in particular, there is a large, can only be described as an engine, about the size of a school bus, he says, that is effectively a fusion containment engine. Not quite like his own. He describes his, like if his was a Ford Model A, this would be a Ferrari. It was a much more advanced piece of kit. It had suffered a catastrophic failure. There was a big hole in the top of it, but he was able to get up and have a look at it and climb around on it. They wanted to know what his opinion of it was. Wanted his insight.
They hadn't gone to collect his rocket at all. His rocket was just sort of stuck in the sand somewhere out in the desert.
At this particular point,
at this time, yeah. So never mind your rocket. We wanted to come and have a look at our rocket.
Yes.
Because we couldn't get ours to go.
Yes. Now, as he starts... So first of all, the material that this thing appears to be made of is an unusual alloy. So I'm paraphrasing what he said, but I would say, for those of you who are familiar with pearlescent colours, the ones that change colour the way you, depending on how the light hits it. That's pretty much how he described it. And as he touches this thing, it reacts to him. He sees what initially looks like shadows under the surface, but then he realizes it's not shadows. It's changing color and changing appearance, not physically morphing, but certainly reacting to his presence with it.
Okay.
He gets up into the hole. He recognizes sort of the part that appears to have exploded, but he can't see any way of. So his particular engine is absolutely covered in loads and loads of wiring because the firing pattern has to be very precise and it's all very, very technical. But there appears to be no wiring or anything with this device, and they can't work out how the firing pattern would happen. Eventually, he works out that actually the way this alloy is responding to him, it's responding to his moods. So it is a symbiotic engine, and he's theorized that the pilots actually connect with the engine, that it's almost alive, basically, and it responds to the pilots, for want of a better phrase, telepathically.
Well, my wife has a mood ring, which when she's happy, it's kind of blue, and when she's in a certain excited state, it goes a bit green, and then when she's angry, it leaves a sort of red welt in the middle of my forehead.
Oh dear. Yeah. Probably shouldn't laugh at that. Domestic violence is no joke. But no, I've not heard that one before. Yes. I don't know. Yeah, mood rings. I've always had a little bit of skepticism about mood rings. But they're a thing.
Yeah.
But
it's not what you think of to make the material to make a rocket out of, is it?
Now his story doesn't end there, because he's looking at this thing and he's kind of working it all out, and he starts being vocal about the fact, well, this has obviously come from an alien spacecraft, and and he gets
that's his first take, is it?
Well,
what do you think of our engine? What do you think went wrong? He says, well, this is obviously alien technology.
Well, they're asking questions.
And then do they get all shifty and say, no, it's not. we made it.
Well, they're asking questions like, how do you think the firing pattern works? And he's like, well, why are you asking me if you built it? But obviously, like I say, this thing's the size of a school bus, and, he speculates that this must have come from a huge craft. That craft must have had occupants. What have you done with them? And start sort of, like I say, vocalizing this. So they roundly start removing him from sight. And this is where I start to pull some strongholds in his story personally. He says it occurred to him that this is all to do with nuclear superiority, because the whole mutual assured destruction thing is what prevents us from pushing the button. If you could have sufficient acceleration that basically the nuclear missile gets to the other country before they're aware it's been launched, then they're not going to retaliate, because they can't retaliate.
But we also understand that even if they don't retaliate, you'll cause so much environmental destruction that it's going to come back on you anyway.
Well, bearing in mind this was back in 1971, and the whole, you'll remember the whole fear of nuclear destruction.
And what they called anticipatory retaliation. You've got to get your retaliation in first. But,
yes.
In those, I mean, I've heard this argument about hypersonic glide vehicles. They're saying in the old days, if you thought that the other side had launched their missiles, you had something like 20, 25 minutes to actually verify that it was a real launch and not just some glitch on your computer. With hypersonic glide vehicles, you don't have that 20, 25 minutes anymore. You've got 5, maybe 10 minutes. So it suddenly become an awful lot more dangerous.
Yes. So this 17-year-old David Adair works out that his rocket could basically bring about the end of civilization. So he And like I say, I start to struggle with this a little bit. He gets a handful of graphite grease from the hangar door, starts crying about needing to see his rocket, and I want to see my rocket. So they take him to his rocket. He smears this grease inside the door, and because of the plasma reaction to it, basically it explodes. So he destroys his own rocket by smearing graphite grease on the inside of the access panel.
Okay. I don't have the necessary scientific knowledge to dispute that, but I have to say it sounds unlikely. So he destroyed his own rocket?
He destroyed his own rocket.
And nobody had any plans, or he didn't have to submit anything, or they gave him all this funding and just let him kind of build a rocket and fly it. And
your guess is as good as mine on that.
This is sounding a bit unlikely, I think. Didn't it blow his hand off? I mean, how quickly? I mean, if you think, well, if I smear graphite grease inside the inspection panel on my rocket, it'll blow it up. Will it blow it up with my hand still inside it?
So he smeared the grease inside, then set it on a timed delay to activate, told everyone, oh no, there's a fuel leak, we all have to get out of here. They cleared the area, and then it exploded. Presumably blasting toxic nuclear material all over the place. I don't know if there's nuclear material. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't know if it was radioactive or not. I've not heard anything that says it is.
I mean, a fusion engine kind of suggests that, doesn't it?
It does. Now, this guy has gone on to have a successful career in these things.
Well, yeah, playing parts in The Bill and in Minder, apparently, according to IMDb.
And he's also made claims that he was taken to meet Stephen Hawking, who he called Stefan Hawking.
Okay.
Which I thought was a bit weird. Because he'd made the same sort of calculations as he was making about black holes and but we've hit that time in the show. That's his story anyway. We've hit that time when we do speculate about what we think. So Neil, David Adair, did he visit Area 51?
I dare say he might have, if he got the funding to build his little rocket and flew it, he was told where to launch it. I would have thought there would be very, very tight controls over the private launching of a rocket. You tell someone, can you direct your rocket this way? Well, how do you know the guy's actually built a rocket that can be directed that accurately? They must have. It all seems very lax. And then your rocket flew. We're happy with that. We saw it disappear off into the sky. Let's fly to where it was programmed to land. And but before we go and pick up your rocket, come and have a look at ours, because we built something similar. Although actually, it's of materials that you'll have never seen before, and using kind of connectivity. Whereas you would have had wires all over your thing. We don't have any wires, and so. But we're going to ask you what you think of our rocket anyway. Just as someone, we're not going to ask the guy who built it. We're going to ask someone who built something similar who's never seen this before.
A 17-year-old kid.
A 17-year-old kid, yeah. A kid who's not allowed to buy a beer.
Or vote.
Yeah. Or vote, yeah. But we're going to ask his opinion on our nuclear fusion technology. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he's undoubtedly a clever bloke, but I don't know in which way he's clever, whether it's actually inventing things or inventing actual things or inventing stories.
Yeah.
It's quite a yarn. But he seems to have made a career out of it with his books and his movies.
Well, the thing there is he didn't come forward until about 1999 with this. He says, and I've got to say, I this part of it all I accept quite readily. That had he have come forward prior to that, he would have been roundly ridiculed and nobody would have taken him seriously at all. But the world had, and certainly the world of ufology, had changed such that these things were now being taken a bit more seriously. And yeah, I have to concur with that specific part of the assessment. That if anyone was going to come forward, yeah, around that time, late 90s, you start to get more acceptance. I mean, it's still not there in my view, but we're getting there steadily. But there's so much about this story that I don't. It just doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense to me.
I need to know a lot more. I can imagine if you can prove yourself to be a fairly handy as a rocket scientist, that would get you out of the draft. He didn't end up getting sent to Vietnam the following year.
Oh, he was conscripted.
Okay.
And they wanted him to build the rocket, this engine again, but he didn't. So they sidelined him into designing jet aircraft for the Navy. That's how he started.
Okay, right.
His jet propulsion career. Yeah, I struggle with a lot of his story, but then there are parts of it that do ring quite true with me. My own personal belief is that this is someone who did have an experience, did see something, but has perhaps elaborated on it somewhat. Whether or not that's in his own mind or his own imagination, I think the story has become elaborated over the years, perhaps with the retelling. These things, that happens, as we know.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
I think there's probably a kernel of truth in there, somewhere at the core of it. There's some strange things that, yeah, it does make sense. And the whole, he built rockets in his backyard and then was sort of taken forward to work on, extraterrestrial propulsion. It's very similar to Bob Lazar's story.
Yeah.
So I think there's something in that, perhaps. So there you go, listeners. If you want to be involved in top secret UFO technologies, just get your kids working on jet propulsion systems in the back garden. Do not hold us responsible if you blow up your house, town, country, whatever. Yes. No, don't take any of that seriously. Yeah. Interesting story. What do you think, though, listeners? We always want to know, especially from Jerry now, what your take is on David Adair's story about Area 51. Is every word of it absolutely true, do you think? Or, yeah, is there something else going on? Do let us know via the usual means. You can contact us, Twitter and Facebook. You can email us, aliensexplored@gmail.com. Or if you are one of our lovely, lovely Patreon patrons or Patreon members, that's an easy way of saying it. Might start that now. Yes, Patreon members, then you get exclusive access to our Discord server where I can tell you people discuss all sorts of UFO things, including debates on the actual episodes themselves. And they're really interesting to read and get involved in as well. Because we like to have a look, don't we, Neil?
We do.
So join us next time, though, when we shall be... We'll be going way, way back to ancient Egypt, Neil, to, around about 3,500 years ago, when there was a papyrus written describing a UFO. Exciting.
Right.
So
Yes.
we'll be looking at the Tully Papyrus. So you don't want to miss that one, listeners. In the meantime, keep watching out for rockets flying overhead, strange materials and with strange engines and all sorts of other things. And of course, keep watching the skies. Take care for now.
Yeah, bye-bye. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Fomes. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.